Welcome to the Shrewsbury Public Library. I'm Priya Ratnam, the newly appointed Library Director. What I've heard over and over since my appointment is that I have big shoes to fill. I'm very aware of the fact that Ellen Dolan's 15-year tenure as director of the Shrewsbury Public Library is a hard act to follow. She has exemplified what an ideal leader should be like, and honestly, I think I'm the most fortunate person in this room, as I've had the opportunity to work very closely with Ellen for over a decade. 15 years ago, as a new resident of Shrewsbury, as I was exploring a new second career, I discovered the Shrewsbury Library. As a relatively new immigrant, I had fallen in love with American libraries, and I was especially attracted to the Shrewsbury Library. Ellen encouraged me on my career path as I enrolled in grad school and pursued my dream of becoming a librarian. I have worn many hats during my tenure here and found joy whether I was serving children or adults. My passion for libraries, my deep-rooted belief that libraries transform communities, and my desire to empower the residents of Shrewsbury propel me every day. I look forward to nurturing the strong community partnerships that SPL has built over the years. I look forward to providing innovative programs and services with the help of my amazing team. I look forward to continuing the standard of excellence set by Ellen, and I'll ensure that the library is a warm, welcoming place for everyone. I would like to begin the celebration of Ellen's 40+ years of extraordinary library service by inviting Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito to say a few words.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to be here in this room with all of you to celebrate a very special friend of Shrewsbury. Priya, wonderful opening remarks, but there's no doubt in any one of our minds that you'll do a wonderful job. And you keep. I'm sure Ellen would love to just leave a set of shoes behind just for relevance, but no doubt you're prepared and ready, and we're very grateful that you would take on this position. I wanted to come by simply to say thank you to Ellen for her amazing work here in Shrewsbury, but for her it was more than work. It was more than a job. It was really a labor of love for library services, but for the people of this community. And when you said 15 years, I felt that was short. I feel like the amount that you have given cannot be measured in terms of those years that you held the responsibility of heading the library services in the community. And the couple things I wanted to just highlight are that Ellen made the case for library services in Shrewsbury, in this community, and had to articulate a real message of why library services bring value to a community and relevance. And at a time when, this is probably the first Exhibit A, right, as to why it's relevant. But at a time when, in these past 15 years, technology's changed everything in our lives. How we consume, how we communicate, how we just share and gain information. And there was a question, really, among many people, what is the value that library services brings to a community, especially when people can access books and information and all of the things that they might need for enjoyment, for education, for employment through the internet. And she made an incredible case that this library is more than a library. It's more than library services. And while technology is amazing and a wonderful tool to all of us, there is no replacement for the personal connection, the cultivation of relationships, and the ability for people in a community to come together and share time face to face. And the message that you delivered was one that had to be repeated very often to convince the taxpayers and the people of this community that this investment would withstand the test of time, withstand the challenge of technology and the change in the way I just described, and would be a value for many decades to come. And thank you for that. Your gift to this community is everlasting, and it truly is an asset for this community when you think about the quality of life that we so enjoy in this community, and when people who are thinking about where to lay their roots or expand their family or to grow older in, they can do so much here in Shrewsbury because of this service. A library service has no boundaries. It's open to everyone. And as I understand from Priya, this library welcomes on average 1,000 people a day. That's amazing. And I know that the people who've been working as part of the staff here see that and know that. But that's an amazing just opportunity for people of all ages, younger and older, to come, remain connected, and have that kind of respectful and welcoming community that is very evident within the walls of this building. And then the final is just to have navigated and perfected your skills around building a team, collaboration, and really working through all the details of what your vision was around this building. I'm sure exceeds the expectations that you had in that process and the way people are using this facility. There's no doubt it brings many people together over much joy and enrichment. So thank you very much. We look forward to seeing the next things for you. I can present this to you if you'd like. This is to our Ellen Dolan. On behalf of your, I'm just going to say many years, of service here in Marlborough and in this Commonwealth, signed proudly by your governor and your friend, Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you, Karen. I'd now like to invite Senator Michael Moore to say a few words.
Thank you. It's a great honor to be here today. You know, when you first start running for office, you get the opportunity to meet a lot of great people, and I can tell you from the moment I met Ellen, she's always been very inviting. She's you can tell she's a very special person, and she represents the community of Shrewsbury very well. And as Lieutenant Governor said about libraries, too often the public today, because of technology, doesn't understand what libraries are really used for. I think Ellen was able to, in pushing for the renovation and the expansion of the library, to make people understand that libraries are really community centers. They are really the heart of the communities. As stated, people come here for workforce development, looking for jobs. They come here for family needs. You know, they bring their children here. And libraries are the basis of our education system. And so her ability to really put her vision, or let people understand her vision of libraries is really amazing. And she deserves a lot of credit and thanks for that. She is a very wonderful person, and again, she's a great representative of the people of Shrewsbury. So in honor of all her wonderful work here, I have a citation from the Senate congratulating Ellen Dolan, the director of the Shrewsbury Library, in your years of service for the town of Shrewsbury as their library director. It's signed by myself and the Senate President, and thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Senator Moore. I'd like to invite Representative Hannah Kane now.
Thank you, Priya. And I join our Lieutenant Governor in saying that, Priya, you are going to do a fabulous job of your own, and I'm pretty sure I haven't seen those boots on Ellen, so you are already sporting a new vibe here at the library. Well done. It's so great to be in this room. I remember when we were in this room just a few short years ago on the opposite end of the room, having a grand time being in this new space and having the opportunity to celebrate the fact that we had this new renovated and expanded library, and what a momentous occasion that was for this community. And I know many of you were here that day. And I remarked at the time that for myself, every time I walk into a library, and in particular this one, because it is so welcoming, I think of being a young girl and walking in the town of Yarmouth, where both sets of my grandparents lived, with my grandmothers with no license. So they had to walk everywhere, and I would walk to the library with them. And they would get out their books, and I would get out my books, and then we would figure out how many we could actually hold walking home, because I was a little kid, so they ended up holding most of them. But it was such a warm environment, and so many memories of mine come to life every time I walk in here. And of course, having brought my own young children here, and having my son, who was actually one of the early, I think, renegades, who was giving Ellen a little bit of a run for her money when the middle schoolers decided this was the coolest place to be after school. So fortunately, we were able to get you some additional resources to help with that, which you advocated for very well at a finance committee meeting. But you know, being a finance committee member and having our meetings the last 2 weekends, I do want to note for anyone who wasn't watching at home, I'm pretty sure Beth Casavant thinks everybody watches every single thing on Shrewsbury Media Connection, because she watches every meeting that happens in the town at home. But for those of you who might have missed this, at the finance committee meeting last weekend, Kevin Mitzigar, our town manager, paused to really say that Ellen set the standard for how somebody in the town would prepare and come forward to a town meeting to advocate what was needed in her area of responsibility. And so I did want to note, Ellen, that you have set a high bar, not just here, but across the community in Shrewsbury and so many others. When you come to the State House on Library Day and you advocate, there are so many people that are coming up and talking to Ellen from throughout the Commonwealth, because they know her. They know the amazing impact she's had as a librarian in her career. And so they seek her out to say hello, get some insight and advice on what they're up to. I remember when we passed the library here on our second time, I got a call from Maureen Ambroso from the Westboro Public Library Director. Can you set up a time for me to talk to Ellen? Because I want to see what she did so we can get our library expanded over here. So, of course. So you, all of us know well here what you've done, but I also want to note that there are so many people across the Commonwealth who have learned so much from you and are so grateful for all the work that you've done. And I stand here as a proud resident of this town and thank you with every hat that I wear in this community, but most importantly, as a mom and the granddaughter of grandmothers who made libraries such a special place for me. Thank you for the work that you've done. I do come here. Oh, thank you. I do come here too with a citation for you. And it was funny, when we were getting this made, somebody said to me, "Didn't we just do one for Ellen Dolan?" I said, "Yes, that's when she won the Harry S. Cutting Award, but this is because she's retiring after a remarkable career." So I want to read it to you. And like at the Harry Cutting Award thing, I had to have it put on bigger because I wanted to write so much that I can't actually read the size. So you at home can hold it up close. Be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to Ellen Dolan in recognition of your retirement as Library Director at the Shrewsbury Public Library. Your exemplary leadership, your indefatigable grace under pressure, your infectious passion for reading and learning, and your steadfast commitment to provide a warm welcome to all library patrons has translated into 15 years of outstanding accomplishments here in Shrewsbury and abundance of goodwill in our community. Thank you for giving so much of yourself to your role and for cultivating a welcoming home for friends of all ages in this gracious and grand beloved building that you have preserved for generations to come. Enjoy your well-deserved retirement with your families and friends. Examples A, actually have just left the room, so they're out here. But you have a beautiful family, and we're so happy that you're going to have this time to be with them and instill all of the wonderful things that you've instilled this community into your grandchildren. So thank you, Ellen.
You hold my big. Okay, you can hold it.
Thank you, Hannah. And now I'd like to invite Chair of the Board of Selectmen, Mr. Mo DiPaolo.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. First, Priya, I want to make sure that I congratulate you on your promotion. I know you do a great job. We all know you do a great job. You had a great mentor here, and you were very fortunate for that. Ellen, it's an honor to be here to recognize you in all your success. You really always wowed me with everything you did in the town. And I actually loved to listen to you talk at town meeting or at the finance committee, because you were the absolute most professional in making an argument and presentation of anyone that I met. It really, really impressive. You know, I was doing some research on Ellen, reading some newspaper articles. Actually, I think you have more newspaper articles than I do. So, anyways, one of the things I found was way back when Ellen thought she wanted to be a forest ranger. I only can imagine what that would have meant for the Forest Service, but we are very fortunate that you chose to be a librarian instead. Since you came here in 2005, you've really been an inspiration and a role model to everybody who's worked with you in the community. You're just a great person. And more importantly, you showed us that libraries matter and that they enrich our lives and they enrich the community. You're a consummate professional, Ellen. You demonstrate it by your leadership, your innovation, your determination, and your ability to bring people together. You're always positive, you always have a great laugh, you always have a smile, even when we're standing over in Champion's Funeral Home when it's about 3 degrees outside, putting tape and marking the vendor spaces for the Yuletide party. Still positive. You're very gracious. You always share your accomplishments with other people, and the truth is, they wouldn't be successful without you leading them. So thank you very much. Your attitude's infectious. Your response to the first library vote, which was a setback, was to step back, reassess, and come back more determined and more excited about securing the funding. You inspired a whole group of people, and you were successful in getting it done. So congratulations to you for that. There's a constant theme that I noticed in the articles that were written about you, and it was all about helping people. And I went back and I saw what you said at the Harry Cutting Award when you accepted the award, and I'm going to read it. I am extremely grateful, and I deeply believe in the value of service. I believe in the idea of contributing to the common good. Ellen, you've certainly done all of that and more. So on behalf of the town and the Board of Selectmen, I sincerely thank you for your service and hope you have a great retirement. And I can tell you, having been on the other side for a while, that it's absolutely fantastic, so I'm sure you love it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mo. Could I now request Claire O'Connor, Chair of the Board of Trustees?
Thank you. It's nice to be here and able to speak for the board. First of all, I want to say it's great to see so many friends of the library and people we've known for many years. We even have the architect here. So they welcome everyone. I think it tells how much Ellen means to all of us. And I thought, you know, she's been with us for 15 years, but she came already with 20 years of experience. I think you must have started when you were about 10 years old. Just because she has such dedication to the library. I just want to, you know, kind of do a little bit of retrospective here. You know, we've been through, people have referred to the building projects, but what a struggle it was, 3 building projects to get this library here. And many of you remember the temporary library that we had over on the other side of Route 9, when there's the former Glavin Center. That just took an immense amount of coordination. Ellen and her staff, and they did it almost, I'm sure you remember the pain, but to the community, it seemed to be kind of seamless, and I think we all kind of got to love that little place, actually. And then we come back here and to this new incredible building, and the digital revolution had really happened. The other day I remembered this. I was returning my library book. Usually the machine sucks it up, but it was getting upgraded to Windows 10, and I had to do it the old-fashioned way. And that was another great technological innovation that you did. And I think the people who aren't here, there's a lot of what I call virtual patrons. There's plenty of people who never darken the door of the library, but use it. And that's kind of, we need to appreciate them too. And there's been tremendous growth in the digital resources at the library since Ellen came. I looked it up. It was something like 300 when you came, 300 electronic resources to 90,000 plus. Just amazing. So you've been ahead of this, all of this innovation going on here and keeping up with the times in librarianship. Now, I think another thing that Ellen has done that has just been incredible was assembling a wonderful staff, a wonderful, very talented staff. And actually, one of the nice things is they're staying, at least, so we're going to be able to benefit from what they say for many years. And so thank you, all of you, through the room here. And we don't actually have to say goodbye yet because we have one more meeting with Ellen. But I just want to say you've made being a trustee pretty easy because she's a leader for everybody. And so thank you.
Thank you all for sharing your thoughts and stories. If you will indulge me, I would like to share a poem that I've composed, a sonnet as a tribute to Ellen. Ellen's endearing qualities as a leader: large-hearted, kind, compassionate, and generous, a visionary, a doer with humble demeanor. These are words from my heart, not a thesaurus. To Ellen, nothing is too trivial. A clogged toilet? No problem. Ellen's there with a toilet plunger. She's egalitarian, not imperial. Decisive and precise, no chance of blunder. An exemplary leader, a model librarian, synonymous with the Shrewsbury Library, worthy of a sonnet that's almost Shakespearean. Future historians will call her legendary. Where do I begin and where do I end? Ellen, you've been my guide, mentor, and friend.
Good afternoon, all. Thank you to all for those very kind words. They were incredibly humbling. I have to say that probably the most joyful people to hear those are my parents in heaven and my family here. My parents had to suffer through about 11 or 12 years of horrendous teacher-parent conferences, which started out with Sister Eleanor Francis telling my mother and father that Ellen is impossible. So I will take those words from my parents. As I was thinking about the reception today, I was really struggling with what to say because I wanted to express how deeply grateful I am to have worked in a field I love and to have been the beneficiary of incredible support, guidance, and contributions from so many wonderful people. I was trying to figure out how I express the deep gratitude without just making a list of people and thanking each one individually. So I decided to tell a story about one of my very early memories in libraries. It was long before I worked in a library. I was probably just a girl of 8 or 9 years old, and I just had discovered chapter books. In one of my searches in the big kids sections of the children's room in the Marlborough Public Library, I discovered a rather worn book without a dust jacket. It had been so well used. And I can still recall the shabby blue cover. Those of you who are librarians know how often people describe their books by the color of the cover, but there was a small image in the middle in an oval of a young girl with Victorian-style curls on her head. And I read that book, and it absolutely captured my heart. The emotions, the drama, the intrigue that book presented just jumped out at me, and I felt that I had truly discovered a treasure. And the emphasis here is on that I had discovered it. I believed that I had somehow discovered this amazing book. And you see, I thought no other person had already known about this book. And I thought I had to share it with someone. And I decided to share it with Miss Jones, who was my children's librarian when I was a girl, Miss Eleanor Jones. And I brought the book to her, and I explained how this book looked terrible. You know, it just really looked awful, but it was a really, 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 really good book. I kept saying, "It's such a good book, Miss Jones." Now, the title of that book was A Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett. Some of you may know Frances Hodgson Burnett. Now, Miss Jones, she delighted in my discovery. She never told me that this title was a classic children's book and that it had already been made into plays and movies, one which was a silent version with Mary Pickford, so it had been around a while, and another which was done with Shirley Temple as the lead. So it was a pretty famous book, but no, she just celebrated my discovery, and then she told me about another book that I might like by the same author called The Secret Garden. Well, of course, over the years, I did come to learn that A Little Princess is considered a classic of children's literature, that it's an enduring story, one that will be valued for generations. My memory of that discussion with Miss Jones stays with me today. It has helped shape me and help me understand how I provide good service to the public. But it gives me a sense of gratitude after all these years that she celebrated my discovery, and then we both understood we had a treasure in hand. In many ways, my life's work in public libraries has been about sharing a treasure. I've spent years working to extol the power and the value of the public library, and I'm sharing the idea that a good library is a community treasure. There were times when people questioned my career. I can remember a few years out of college, I ran into an old high school acquaintance, and he asked me if I was still in libraries. And when I explained that I was, he actually said he didn't know that libraries were still a thing. Well, they certainly were still a thing. But what I have encountered all along the way throughout my 40-plus years in libraries is people who shared that view that libraries are a treasure, that they are a powerful public institution. People who understood that libraries can impact lives and communities in so many positive ways, and that libraries improve and empower people in their individual lives, and that they provide a place of welcome and solace for so many. They are places of learning and discovery, and they are places for community building. These people have joined me in celebrating this treasure, and I'll go about sharing the word on libraries today. There are many who were involved: library trustees, Friends and Foundation Board members, state legislators, town officials, town department heads and town employees, library volunteers, library donors, library users, and most importantly, library staff who have voiced the importance of public libraries. If I could take a moment and just ask all the library staff who are here to just raise your hand, past and present, if you are or were an employee. Sarah, I see you back there. Just let me. Thank you. thank you. Former Library Director Bonnie O'Brien is here, and I know she understands how important a treasured library is. So I'm grateful for the work these people do every single day to be sure our library provides excellent and welcome for all. During the past 15 years, during this time when it was my turn as the library director to care for and lead this library, I have benefited from the help, the guidance, the commitment, and the support of so many individuals. And I am so deeply grateful that our shared efforts have created an outstanding library for the town of Shrewsbury. And I am deeply grateful for the support I have received personally. And just as I can still recall how Miss Jones, back at Marlborough Library, shared my feelings about the treasure of a single book, I know that the deep gratitude I feel today will stay with me and endure through the years. It's the gratitude for the people I have worked beside, for those who have helped and guided me through the years, and for the many library patrons I have served during my years as a public librarian. And now for the people who will continue to take care of this library, including our new director, Priya Rathnam. I thank you all for this precious gift.